The Smeds and the Smoos. By a alluvial lake on a far-off planet, there lived a young Smed, and her name was Janet. Not far away on a humpety hill, there lived a young Smoo by the name of Bill. Janet, like all the Smeds, was red, and this is what her grandfather said. Never, never play with the Smoos. They sleep in holes, they wear strange shoes, they jump about like kangaroos. Never, never play with the Smoos. Bill, like all the other Smoos, was blue, and these were the words of Grandmother Smoo. Never, never play with the Smeds. They have strange hairs upon their heads. They sleep in funny things called beds. Never, never play with the Smeds. The Smeds on their lake liked nothing better than splashing about, getting wetter and wetter. But Janet grew bored with this watery play, and early one morning she tiptoed away. The Smoos jumped about on their humpety hill. They bounced up and down, and it never stood still. But Bill was beginning to think this is boring, so early one morning he set off exploring. Janet met Bill in the Werpula wood, where the trockles grew tall and the glompom smelled good. The two rubbed antennae and played all day long. She told him a story, he sang her a song. They climbed to the top of a gerberry coot and nibbled its juicy and jellyful fruit, till who should disturb them but Grandfather Smed. Shaking his fist, he angrily said, Never, never play with a Smoo. They're such a nasty shade of blue. For the 100th time I say to you, never, never play with a Smoo. Grandmother Smoo was close behind, and this is how she spoke her mind. Never, never play with a Smed. They're such a dreadful shade of red. I'll say again what I've always said. Never, never play with a Smed. Years went by on the far-off planet. Janet missed Bill, and Bill missed Janet. But off they crept whenever they could to sing and play in the Werpula wood. The two of them grew and decided to wed, but what do you think their grandparents said? Never, never marry a Smoo. They're a beastly bunch, they're a ghastly crew. They drink black tea and they eat green stew. Never, never marry a Smoo. Never, never marry a Smed, my dearest child. Are you off your head? They drink pink milk, they eat brown bread. Never, never marry a Smed. Janet and Bill stole out that night, while their families slept and the scroon shone bright. They clambered into the Smed's red rocket. Grandfather Smed had forgotten to lock it. Bill pressed the button and Janet steered. When their families woke, they had both disappeared. The Smed said, Your Bill must have stolen our Janet and taken her off to a far-off planet. The Smoo said, It's Janet who's stolen our Bill, and lured him away from the Luplia hill. The Smoos climbed into their rocket of blue, and they said to the Smeds, You'd better come too. Suspicious and scowling, they soared into space till they reached planet Vumjum, a dry, dusty place. The Vums had long arms which they waved in the air, but they didn't have news of the runaway pair. The next stop was Lurglestrop, covered in roses, and watered by beasts with small eyes and long noses. They touched down on Grimbletosh, coated in grime. They searched Planet Glurch and found nothing but slime. One morning the Smoos found they'd run out of tea, so the Smed shed their milk, which was pink as could be. Then Grandfather Smed said, My hair needs a trim, and Grandmother Smoo kindly cut it for him. They landed on Sklop, where the Sklopoppies wore kilts. Then they flew to Clubob, where the clubs walked on stilts. They searched all year long, then they searched longer still, but they didn't find Janet, they didn't find Bill. Alas, said the Smoos, and the Smeds said, Alack, we have failed in our quest, we had better turn back. So they turned and flew home to their very own planet, and far down below them they saw Bill and Janet. The rocket touched down, and they ran to the wood where the trockles grew tall and the glompom smelled good. And there in a glade by the rocket of red were the runaway Smoo and the runaway Smed. They'd got lost and flown home again, only to find that all of the others had left them behind. There was joy, jam and jumping. Then Janet said, Maybe you'd like to make friends with our dear little baby. A baby, a red one, a blue one, but no! Their baby was purple from head to toe. They all hugged the Smoo Smed, their new baby brother, and Grandpa and Gran even hugged one another. They laughed and they splashed and they danced with delight, and they played with that baby from morning till night. They made him a rattle, they made him a flute, they fed him the fruit of the gerberry coot. Then they sang by the light of the silvery scroon, and you can sing too if you make up a tune. Play with the Smeds and play with the Smoos, play with whichever friends you choose. Then close your eyes and while you snooze, dream of Smeds and dream of Smoos. Hi, so today we are going to have a look at vocabulary. So we're going to have a think about how we can check that we actually understand the language within the books that we're reading, where we might be able to
look for clarification, and how to use the text to help us work out the intended meaning from the author. And in order to do this, we're going to use the story that I read this week. It's called The Smeds and the Smooths. It's by Julia Donaldson. And the reason that I've chosen this as the story for the focus on vocabulary is because there's so much bizarre vocabulary in it, where it wouldn't be as easy as, oh, we'll go and ask a grown-up what that means, because they wouldn't necessarily know, because it is a little bit sci-fi in the fact that it is sort of like it's set in a made-up realm. So I feel like this is probably the perfect book to sort of unpick, because it's full of words that I don't naturally know, and therefore it's much easier for me to identify words that might be a struggle and show you how we could unpick that and gain in understanding from the context than it would be if I chose a different book. But it's certainly a skill set that you can use and apply when you're doing your reading. Reading for understanding is super important. Now, one of the ways that we get there is by reading fluently. So if we're reading something for understanding, we probably won't have the best understanding of what we've read reading it the first time through. That's the same for everybody. That's the same for me if I'm reading like legal documents or like stuff sent from the government that's written in really sort of formal language. Then I still these days will read it and then I will reread it. And the first time I'm reading it to sort of get a grip and a flow of it, and I get a general feel for what it's about, but it's then the second read, the reread, that allows me to sort of dig deeper for understanding. And sometimes I will have to read things more than twice, and sometimes I will have to sort of hone into specific like paragraphs and then potentially specific words. And although we can't do it with this text, one thing that I do always make sure that I like have to hand, and the internet is a wonderful place for this, is I always make sure that I've got a dictionary and a thesaurus as well, because sometimes just knowing some synonyms, just knowing some alternative words for that word is enough for me to be able to gain an understanding of what it means. Sometimes the definition is not quite so helpful as maybe synonyms, so words that mean the same are. So a dictionary holds definitions and a thesaurus holds synonyms. It holds similar words. It also holds antonyms, so they're the opposite words. In terms of like a dictionary, I tend to use the OED, the Oxford English Dictionary, which is available online as well. So actually, if I don't have a dictionary to hand, I always do if I've got my phone, because I can use the internet to research the meaning of words. But I'm always quite careful, if I'm doing it for a purpose, that I'm looking at a reliable source. And I know the Oxford English Dictionary, the OED, to be quite up to date with its definitions, unless it's slang and then you need to look in an Urban Dictionary. But in texts, we don't find that so much. So if we start with the Smeds and the Smooths, we know a dictionary is not going to help us today, so I won't have my phone to hand because it just won't help. So I'm just going to remove the cover because that will get in the way. And I think the best way to do this is to go through. We'll go through page by page. We'll get as far as we can in 15 minutes. We might get to the end, we might not. There's a lot of weird language in here, but we will unpick it and we will see if we can work out what we think the meaning behind those words are, what we think Julia Donaldson, the author, intended for us to think based on that. So I start here. By a lubular lake on a far off planet. Okay, there we go. First sentence. A lubular lake. Now, the first thing to point out here is that when I'm reading this, I'm using my phonics knowledge in order to do that. So I've broken that down. There's a double O for an oo, lube, U. In the middle of a word is generally a U, and then it's AR at the end, LAR, la. So a lubular lake. Now, because lake is a thing, is a noun, and lubular comes before it. So I am going to assume that lubular is some sort of adjective for this lake. Now, in the illustration, this here looks like water. There seems to be somebody splashing in it and some weird creatures in it. So maybe this lubular lake is green. Maybe it's luminous. they would go. The words have something in common, and it also ties in with the illustration there as well. So we could work out that it was an adjective because it came before the noun, because it came before the lake. It was definitely describing that, and then from there we can use the other things that are around it. There's not tons of text around it, so it's a bit harder to work out, but there are illustrations, and those illustrations will always be useful. Not far away on a Humpulty hill, there lived a young smoo by the name of Bill. Here we go, look, again, we've got a Humpulty hill just here. Now, Humpulty comes before the hill. Hill is the noun, Humpulty comes before it. So again, going to assume it's an adjective, and well, it's a lumpy, bumpy sort of hill, look. Again, I'm using the illustration there to help me, but it's a lumpy, bumpy sort of hill. So I am going to say that a Humpulty hill is like a lumpy, bumpy hill. Janet, like all the Smeds, was red, and this is what her grandfather said. Never, never play with the smoos. They sleep in holes, they wear strange shoes. They jump about like kangaroos. Never, never play with the smoos. Now I guess, and I probably should have picked it up on the first page, but I didn't because I found those adjectives. The word there are two, and one is smed and the other is smoo. So Janet, like all the Smeds, was red. So in the illustration here, look, well, there are two characters that are red. So the Smeds were red. I can look for the red thing. They're the characters, and they sort of look like aliens. So I think in this case they are. And then in there, she talked about the smoos, and this whole verse was about the smoos being blue. Well, on my other page, look, on the next page, the smoos are there, I think. So I think based on the description, so the fact that the Janet is a Smed, all the Smeds are red, we can assume that that's the character. And the same with the smoos, all the smoos are blue. And then the little bit of a rhyme down here, the never, never play with the Smeds. They have strange hairs upon their heads. They sleep in funny things called beds. Never, never play with the Smeds. This tells us more information about those characters. So the Smeds and the smoos are the characters in the story. One group of aliens is red and the other is blue. The Smeds on their lake like nothing better than splashing about, getting wetter and wetter. But Janet grew bored with this watery play, and early one morning she tiptoed away. Well, I guess there are a few words down here that could be tricky. But let's focus on the word tiptoed. So we know that she was bored. So she wasn't having fun in the lake anymore. So she was bored and she tiptoed away. If we were unsure what that meant, we could think about what type of word it would be. She tiptoed away. Well, she did something, didn't she? So it's a verb. And she's going away. So I think she went away. And the tiptoed is telling me like how she did it. Now, in actual fact, I know my tiptoes to be my toes. So if I'm tiptoeing, then I'm walking on my toes. So that's potentially one that I could look up in the dictionary, or I could ask somebody. And if I was looking to read for understanding, so I've read it through once and now I'm going back through and I'm rereading with a bit more fluency and for understanding, if it was a word that I was unfamiliar with, then either I could circle it if it was a copy of the text, but if I was in the book I probably wouldn't do that, but I could write it down. The smoos jumped about on their Humpulty hill, they bounced up and down and they never stood still, but Bill was beginning to think this is boring, so early one morning he set off exploring. And now I know that this exploring bit is he's going off to find something new. And the reason that I know that is because I've gained that understanding from the page before. So Janet went off and she was going to find something different because she was bored. And now Bill is going to do the same because we've read the story once and we have a general understanding that Janet and Bill are going to find something more, that, you know, they want a different sort of life. Here we go. When Janet met Bill in the Werpula wood where the truckles grew tall and the glompums smelled good, the two rubbed antennae and played all day long. She told him a story, he sang her a song. They climbed to the top of the gerberry coot and nibbled its juicy and jellyful fruit. Whoa, there's loads in there. So let's just take in this picture then, because we've got Janet and we've got Bill. And if we're not sure about antennae, then in the actual picture, their antennae are touching here. So they rubbed antennae, well, their antennae are the bits on their heads, and we might know that bit of information from information that we know about mini beasts, but it's actually in the picture. We can use the illustration to help us. And then we've got truckles, glompoms, and gerbericoot. Now, I think all of these things are nouns because the truckles grew tall. So the thing grew tall. The glompoms smelled good and they climbed to the top of the gerbericoot. Now, the fact that they are in the wood, so at the beginning it said that Janet met Bill in the Werpula wood. Now, Werpula has a capital letter, so I am going to assume that Werpula is just the name of the wood. It's called Werpula wood because it has a capital letter like a proper noun would. But all of those others that I think are nouns, because something happens to them, they all appear later on and they all seem to be part of that Werpula wood. So from what I know about a wood, I don't know about this wood, I've never been to this planet, but from what I know about a wood, I can assume that the truckles and glompoms and the gerbericoot are all some sort of plants. Now, I can go further than that to build that picture in my mind. Now, there are in fact plants in the picture here, and if we know that the truckles grew tall, well, the tall ones are these ones here, look, aren't they? So I think these ones might be truckles, and the glompoms smelled good. Well, I reckon these ones might be glompoms here, especially because like a pom-pom, like a ball. So I would say that that's probably that way round. But if I didn't have the illustration, then I could imagine a tall plant, and I could imagine a plant that I know that smells really good. And then what I know about the last one is that a gerbericoot is some sort of edible plant. So maybe some sort of fruit, fruit rhyme. And I know this because they nibbled its juicy and jellyful fruit. And then in actual fact, in the illustration, look, there is Janet and Bill. This I think is the gerbericoot because that is what they are picking and nibbling at. Now, if you're using a picture book like this, then you can absolutely use the illustrations to give you a really clear understanding of what the author and the illustrator intended those things to look and be like. If you don't, you can still use your own imagination, but you can use the words that surround them to help you build a better understanding of what's going on. And I chose the Smeds and the Smoos because I knew it was full of really obscure language and we would really have to sort of pick apart whether they were adjectives or nouns or verbs. And that would be easier for me to do because it's full of such bizarre language. But in actual fact, all of those things that we've talked about today apply to all books, apply to all reading. So you can do exactly the same thing. What a great skill set to have. So remember, first read is just to gain a general idea and a feel, and then we don't gain better understanding until we can read it more fluently. Therefore, it's not until the second, sometimes third read where we really get into the ins and outs of what is going on. So if you read something first time and you think, I haven't got a clue what happened, don't worry, that's perfectly normal. You can use the information around it to help you understand. And if there's illustrations, they're definitely there to aid that understanding. Well done. Whatever you do with the rest of your day, have a great one. Bye-bye. Hi. So today we are going to be looking at finding a third. Now, a third looks like this as a fraction. So this means 1 of 3 equal parts. So regardless of whether we are looking at shapes or numbers, whatever it is that we're trying to find a third of, we're just trying to split it into 3 equal parts. So this tells me how many bits I want, this tells me how many bits I need to split it into, and this just means of 1 of 3 equal parts. We do have to remember the equal parts bit. Now, thirds are a little bit tricky to find, but we can have a really good go. So I'm going to leave that third sign at the top to remind me that's what I'm looking for. And then let's have a run through of a few different shapes and see if we can find a third of some of them. So let's start with a circle. Now, if I'm going to find a third of a circle, you don't need to draw a line all the way through the middle, but I am going to draw one from the middle out. Can you see? And then I will draw one down here, and I will draw one down here, and we will make a little cross section of it. So we'll have 3 triangles, and that way I will have thirds. And the idea that we're aiming for is 3 bits that are the same. So look, I've basically drawn a Y across my circle, but I've got 3 bits that are the same. And if I want to represent 1/3, then what I need to do is I just need to colour in or shade, in this case, one part of it. So this here shows 1/3 of a circle. Could we do the same with a semicircle? So a semicircle would be next in terms of the amount of sides that it has. Could we do the same? So we curve over and we draw a cross like so. And then, yeah, we would just draw the prong bits, wouldn't we? Down into the middle. So we just prong up there and up there. And then we have our thirds. And then again, if we are looking to represent them, then we can go and just shade one bit in. So that shows that we have 1/3 of our semicircle. Well done. Okay, let's see. Oh, 1 side, 2 sides, 3 sides. Let's see if we can do a triangle. What will happen with a triangle? How are we going to do that? We will need the same, won't we? So maybe, oh, I tried this way. Look, how did you try? But this and this are not equal. So maybe I need to try a different type of triangle. These still aren't equal. What about if we had this across here? No. I'm really struggling to find 1/3 of these triangles. How are you getting on? I feel like we must be able to, because we would be able to fold this into 3. Oh, I might have got it now, look. Here we go. Here we go, look. I've got 3 equal triangles, and if I colour in one section, then I show that I have 1/3 of it. Okay, that's 3 sides. So 4 sides is next. Let's do a square. Can you draw a square? And then can you see if you can split that square into 3 equal bits? Remember that with a square, all sides are equal. So think about how you're going to go about doing that. You obviously can't do it by drawing a line down and then a line straight across. That won't work because you would get 4 bits that way. But I think there are 2 ways that you could split a square into thirds. And then can you also just shade in one of them to show me 1/3 as well? So either we could do thirds going down, or we could go thirds going across. We just colour in one of those sections to show 1/3. And then could we also do thirds for a rectangle? So a rectangle also has 4 sides, but it is not that they are not all the same size. So if you have a rectangle, could you cut that into thirds? And can you also show me 1/3? And if you're feeling really, really smart, can you show me both ways that I think that you can cut a rectangle into thirds? Yeah, well done. So either we could go this way or we could go this way, and we just colour one of them in. But it's just important that they're equal parts in order to actually be thirds, because for it to be a fraction of it, it has to be one of that many equal parts. Okay. What about when the shapes get to be a bit bigger then? What about when the shapes get to be pentagons? So they have a bigger number of sides. Pentagon or a heptagon. So either one that has 5 sides or one that has 7 sides. Could you cut those into thirds, and how would you go about doing it? I'm not convinced that you would get 3 bits that are completely equal however you did it, but I might have just proven myself wrong with the pentagon. I might have just proven myself wrong with the pentagon, but not with the heptagon. So just have a little go. Draw one. So you know that a pentagon has 5 sides, and you know that a heptagon has 7 sides. So just try it and then see if you can draw the lines across it to make 3 equal bits. And if you can, then you get thirds, but they have to be identical. Now I've tried a couple of different ways with that heptagon, and I can't see a way that I could make them equal. But with this one, I feel like at least 2 of them are equal. So you probably could make this equal because you could make the top one the same size as that. So actually, we can do it with this, but I couldn't find a way of doing it with the ones that had odd numbers. What about then if we had a hexagon or an octagon? So try drawing a shape that has 6 sides or one that has 8 sides, and let's see whether or not we can do the same with that. So either one with 6 sides or one with 8 sides, and then see if you can get 3 bits that are exactly the same with that. I feel like this is much harder to get thirds. Yeah, I can get quarters. I get 4 equal bits. I get 2 equal bits. Very much struggling with getting 3 equal bits. That I sort of found a way of getting triangles. Not all the triangles are the same though. Yeah, no, I'm really struggling with anything higher with it being the same, with getting 3 equal bits. But there were certainly some of those shapes lower down that we could find a third of. We could split them into 3 equal shapes. Now, we can find a third of a shape, but we can also find a third of a number. Now, I'm going to do this by drawing a Y, like we did in the middle of our circle, and then I'm going to use that to help me find a third. So I'm going to find 1/3 of 6. So here, look, I've written 1/3 of 6 equals, and then each of these is my different sections. So I'm going to put 1 in here, 1 in here, 1 in here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I just keep going round my Y until I get to the number that I need. So this one is 6. And then I count how many in each section. And if there's the same in each section, then I know that I found an equal amount. And so I just need to count how many in the one. So there are 2 here, 2 here, 2 here. They all match. So 1/3 of 6 equals 2. 1/3 of 6 is the same as 2. Okay, let's try a different number this time then. So this time you can join in with me. Draw that Y, and this time let's see if we can work out 1/3 of 12. So 1/3 of 12. We're going to go round that Y, 1 in each section until we get to 12. You ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Being really careful not to put those dots on top of each other because then it won't mean anything to us. Okay, so there are 4 in this section, 4 in this section, and 4 in this section. So 1/3 of 12 equals 4. Brilliant. You're doing such a cracking job at this. It's really tricky and you're doing a brilliant job. You're taking to it like a duck to water. Okay, let's draw that Y again. Let's draw it nice and big. Probably a bit bigger than my one last time because that wasn't quite big enough for the size dots that I had. And this time, let's see if you can write it as well. And we will find 1/3 of 30. Let's go really big. 1/3 of 30. Are you ready? Do you have your Y? Cool. Then the next bit we have to do is we just have to go round and round and round. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. And now we just have to count how many are in each one. But can you see how once I've started, I need to carry on, otherwise I'll forget where I got to. So some of them I bumped into other dots, so I made sure that I corrected it at the time because otherwise it'll make it really tricky. But let's have a quick count. We've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 3, making a little face down there. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we've got 10. So 1/3 of 30 equals 10. So I can use a Y to find a third. See if you can do one without me. Let's see if you can find 1/3 of 15. 1/3 of 15. So draw that Y. and then keep going round until you get to 15, and then count how many in each section. Ta-da! Well done. A third of 15 is 5. There's 5 in each section. So that's one way that I could work it out. I could also work it out using an array. I could do 15 divided by 3, which is basically what finding a third is. I'm splitting it into 3 groups. So in which case, how I would do it differently is that I would have 3 groups going across, and then instead of me just going round and round my Y, I would put into each of these until I got to 15. So I've got 3 there, and then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And then I would count how many in each one. And either way would 100% work. It would give you the right answer. I just think that the Y is quite nice for fractions because it's a good visual representation. It links really nicely to finding a third of a shape, which can sometimes make it easier to remember how we're finding a third of a number as well. And remember, if we're finding 1/3 of the number, then we only need 1 part of it. And when we're looking at that fraction, we are looking at it like this. We are looking at 1 of 3 equal parts. So this tells us how many bits we want. This tells us how many bits it's split into. And this just means 1 of 3 equal bits. So if this had not 1 at the top, if this had 3 of 3, you would need all 3 of them. You would need the whole thing. Do you know what? That's quite tricky. And I think that you've done a really great job with it. I suggest practicing a little bit more. Maybe find some shapes and draw around them, and then you could cut them and see if you could dissect them and make them into thirds, see whether or not they're exactly the same. If they are, then they'll obviously go over the top of each other. Or you could do the same with numbers. So you could play around with sort of manipulative. So you could use peas or pasta or whatever to actually split into 3 groups. But you did a great job today. Whatever you do for the rest of your day, have a great one. Bye-bye. Hi, so this week I read the story of the Smeds and the Smoos. If you haven't watched it yet, go and watch it. It's a great story. It's a lot of fun. There's some really good messages in there. It is a great story for that, but it's also great fun and just a little bit silly and a little bit far off. So the story is set on a far off planet, and this got me thinking. One of the things that we can look at is how plants are made up. But what I thought we would do is do a little bit of learning first. We'll have a look at how plants are made up, and then I thought we could use that to do some creating and some arty type activities, and we'll create our own plants for the far off planet, maybe for in the Werpula Wood, maybe for on the Humpelty Hill. We'll create some plants that we think would fit with the setting of the Smeds and the Smoos. Before we can do that, we do need to do a little bit of learning about what our plants will need. But then you are going to need something to write with and something to write on. And for today, my suggestion is colour. All the colour. So if you have some pencils or some crayons or some felt pens or some pens, whatever it might be, if you have different colours, maybe chalks, then get those, bring those, and we'll have some fun with creating various different plants using our different colours. So pause the video, go and find what you need, and then come back. And today we are going to have some fun creating our own plants. Are you ready? Okay, let's begin. Because before we can do anything, we need to do a little bit of learning about the parts of a plant. You can join in with me if you want, or you can just watch and then we can do some drawing together afterwards. But we need to draw the different parts of a plant. So I wonder if you could draw a flower with all of the different parts of it. How many different parts do you think there are to a plant, a flower in particular? I wonder, let's have a little look. Oh no, I've started colouring it in. I started, you can't just leave it part way through because it would look really silly. So my plant is a flower that I chose to do, but in actual fact I could have done it with a tree or a shrub or something that isn't flowering. It still would have been the same. And then let me just get a different colour, because from there we can have a go at labelling various different parts. So here we go, here is my flower, and there are some different bits of it that we need to label and have a think about what they do. Should we start at the bottom and work up? What are these bits here? We often don't see these. If we're drawing a picture, then they are often the bit that is forgotten about. They're often the bit that we don't see, so we don't tend to draw on our own pictures. But they're the little bit that goes under the ground, under the earth. Well done, absolutely. They are called roots. So let's label those up. There we go, there are our roots. So the roots go under the ground, and the roots help the plant to get all of the water and the nutrients that they require. It feeds it. The roots are really, really important. The roots do also have another job though, because the roots, especially with bigger plants, they help to stabilize the plants. They help to keep it upright. And so with trees, they have really, really big roots. I turned it around without showing which bit next. What about this here? Absolutely. Okay, so we've got the leaf here, or the leaves. If we were talking about the plural of leaf, then it's leaves. Spelled like that. One leaf, lots of leaves. But in this case, a leaf. Now they're green, and they use a process called photosynthesis. Now that's a big word, to get food for the plant. Then we have, what's the next bit on my picture? Absolutely, well done. We've got the stem, and the stem carries the water from the root up to the flower. And obviously it has strength and rigidity in it to keep the plant upright. Then at the top, I labelled two different parts, because I labelled the purple bit around the outside, well done, which is the petals. But then I also labelled the middle bit, which, yeah, may well house the stamen. It will house the pollen. And that's the bit where we often see the bees and the bugs in, getting the pollen from them to go and pollinate other things. And then the bees can use that to make honey as well. Now we know what our plant needs. So we know it needs roots for stability and in order to feed it. We know that it needs leaves of some description and stem to hold it upright. And then we also know that it's going to have pretty petals, but it will also need the stamen and the pollen in the middle. Do you think that we could create our own weird and wonderful plants and flowers? Let's have a think. Let's see what we can do. Now, we could make which bit do you think would be a different colour if we were on a far off planet? Do you know what? You're absolutely right. Just because on our planet where we live and where we learn about plants, just because here all of the leaves and the stem of plants are green because of photosynthesis. If we were off in a far off planet, maybe they wouldn't use photosynthesis as a method to collect sunlight and turn it into energy. Maybe they would do something different. And so maybe the chloroplasts in the plant, maybe the cells within the leaves wouldn't be green. Oh, if you could have leaves that were any colour, what colour would you go for? Blue. I think my plant is going to have lots and lots of blue leaves. So I'm going to draw a plant that has lots of blue leaves, which is weird because obviously on this planet, all the leaves are green, and it's the flowers that are different colours. So because I want to show that it is my leaves, I'm going to draw the little veins that are within my leaves so that I remember that actually these are leaves and they are feeding the rest of the plant. So they will have little branch-like vein systems within them that will take the water and such to other plants. So here we go, look, I've drawn my leaves and I've put the veins in them so that I can show that actually that is, you know, a good part of my plant. Okay, now another part that we need to draw, because it is an important part, often if we're drawing pictures we tend not to, but that doesn't mean that we shouldn't in this instance, is our roots. Now, we would always draw roots. I drew my roots in the last one as brown because they're in the mud. So if we see them, then they often are. In actual fact, most of the time they're translucent, so they're almost see-through, or they're white in colour. They don't tend to be brown, but I wonder what colour they would be on a far-off planet. Maybe they'd be orange. If they were growing in the Werpula wood, then I think the roots might still need to go all the way down to the ground. I think they might need to go facing down, but, and I will draw that, and I'm going to draw them really quite big because I think that this plant is going to be quite a big plant. But I also want to draw a different plant, and I can do it at the same time. I want to draw a different plant that is going to grow on the Humpulty Hill. Now, if I've got a plant that's going to grow on the Humpulty Hill, I don't think my roots will need to go straight down, because maybe it might grow on the side of the Humpulty Hill, so the roots would need to go in. So again, I've drawn my roots already. I haven't drawn the rest of my plants so far. Look, I'll show you. So here's my one for the Werpula wood, and the roots are going straight down and they're really long. And then I've got these green leaves. No, they're not green. I've got these blue leaves which have the veins in to show that they are leaves, and then I can build the rest of my thing on it. But I think this is what my root system for my one on the Humpulty Hill is going to look like, because I think that it will dig into the side of the hill, so I don't think that those roots will go straight down. So I'm going to draw that one coming out. Now, it might be that the environment on the Humpulty Hill is not the same as that of the Werpula Woods, but I think that it would be, if it's on the same planet, then the leaves would probably be the same colour or a similar colour. So I'm going to go for light blue with these leaves, and like we know, not all leaves are the same shape or size. So on this particular plant, I'm going to go for some really tall long leaves. Now I'm still going to add a vein structure to them just so that I know that it is veins, but on this one I'm going to go for some really long pointy leaves that go up and also that go down out of my plant. So I've got blue leaves going up and down out of my plant for the Humpulty Hill. And my plant for the Werpula wood is a bit more what we would expect, and it goes down like a normal root system for our planet. So far, look, I have roots and I have leaves, and now I need a stem of some description. Now my stem for my one on the Humpulty Hill, I don't think is going to be very long, because if it was, then I think that it would get broken. So I'm only going to have a very short but fatter stem on my plant for the Humpulty Hill. So that one is short but fatter, but that one for the Werpula wood I think is going to be quite long. Now I've chosen to do them again in blue because of the reason that we chose blue for the leaves. If we think that it's a different process, it would be a similar colour. See, we might be having fun and we might be being a bit daft, but we're still using our scientific thinking in what we're doing. And then I think we need flowers. So those flowers need petals, and they also need stamen. They need the pollen bit in them. So I think that they would still be super brightly coloured, and I think that on the one for the Werpula wood, I'm going to have lots of flowers coming out of my stem. That's how I'm going to choose to do that, and in which case you won't actually see my the stamen for them, because they will be on the inside rather than on the outside, but they are there and I would be able to label them because I have thought about that in my process. So how would your flowers look? What sort of petals would they have? How would they attach to your stem? What would the stamen look like? Would they be similar? Would they be different? Would all of the flowers be the same, or would some of them be different? How would they look? So I created one there, and then I think that my one for the Humpulty Hill, I just think it would be really quite spiky. So I'm going to do it with really spiky petals, and then a stamen in the middle of it. So I'll show you what I would do, although I'm not going to have the time to complete it necessarily. But I think that this plant would have just a really big spiky set of leaves, like a sunflower. That's what I imagine it being, but a sunflower that's in a different world. So it's still got that bit in the middle where all of the pollen and things like that are, but then it has the big spikes around the outside. So here we go. Look, I used my knowledge to create two different plants. One for the work peeler wood, which is tall, and then one for the Humpulty Hill, which has a much shorter set of roots and leaves and grows out. And I think what I missed off here, but I should have put on, I think this would have spikes to keep it safe on the Humpulty Hill. I hope that you've had a little bit of fun creating your own silly plants to live in a different planet, and just played with that understanding of what parts make up a plant while we were on. You could continue to create more. You can reason why things are different colours or shapes or sizes. All of that is incredible learning. But whatever you do with the rest of your day, have a great one. Bye-bye.
Hello, Angel students. Today I thought we would just ease back into this wonderful brand new year with a meditation. The last lesson we discussed empowerment versus disempowerment, and that can show up in many different ways, from the ways that we speak about ourselves or think about certain situations, circumstances, or ways that we view things. So how have you found using the tips and tricks that I've given you to help motivate, inspire, empower yourself so far? From asking your brain powerful questions to using the stop or cancel method, and then replacing any thoughts that you've been having that aren't necessarily helpful thoughts into more empowering, helpful thoughts. And most importantly, how you speak to yourself. How you view you is more important than anything. Continuing with your affirmations, and always remembering to make your affirmations something that really resonates with you, something that really makes sense to you, something that is 100% believable for you. And even when you set an affirmation of something that you want, something that you desire, something that you want to do, be, become, whatever it is, even if it doesn't seem hugely possible at the time, it's definitely something that you know you can work towards, because you are going to focus, you are going to commit to it, and you're going to give it your all. So soon the screen is going to change and we're going to go into a meditation. You will have instructions throughout this meditation, but I'll just give you a quick hint. Get comfortable. All right, let's go. Welcome to this New Year meditation, especially for you, Angel students. Please find a quiet space where you are unlikely to be disturbed and get into a relaxed position. Any position that feels very comfortable, relaxed, and comforting for you.
whether that's sitting with your back straight and your legs crossed, or on a chair that supports your back, or perhaps you prefer to lay down. The choice is yours. Once you are in a comfortable position, please take a moment and close your eyes. If you are not comfortable with closing your eyes completely, please just lower your gaze by looking down. In our last session, you may remember we spoke about empowering versus disempowering thoughts. And during this meditation, you are going to relax into being open and ready. Now, what do I mean by being open and ready? Well, sometimes we want things. We want to do things or become someone, and in becoming someone, we have to practice doing things that we've never done, or doing things that we have done but doing them in a different way. And sometimes when we make a decision to do something different, or want something different, or want something new that we don't already have, a little teeny tiny voice can pop up sometimes and say, well, you can't do that. That's not going to happen. And you may also remember me teaching you that when you have those thoughts that come and intrude and come in when no one asks them to, is to say stop or cancel. And I hope that you've remembered and been able to practice doing that. And once we do that, the very clever trick is to have an empowering thought that replaces that thought of doubt. And in doing so, it can help to erase those doubtful thoughts and reprogram the brain. So I would like you to take a moment and think about some of your wants. Think about some of your current needs, desires, dreams, and the things that inspire you. For example, you may want to be able to read one extra book a month, or have more time to practice your talents, or experience new things with loved ones. There is no right or wrong, it's completely up to you, because it's what speaks to you, it's what brings you joy, it's what makes you happy, it's all the things that you would love to do, be, try, have, that will make you your most best, happiest, joyful version of you. And in a moment, we are going to practice getting in tune with allowing our minds to become used to accepting the fact that you deserve all of those things. So please take a moment and make up a list in your mind of all of the things that you want, need, desire, dream of, the things you are inspired by. And even if you don't have a list of things, that's perfectly okay. Having one is absolutely fine. Having 2, 3, 4, it doesn't matter. It's what brings joy to your soul, what you feel would improve you in every aspect. So now I'm going to give you a moment for you to think about those things. Okay, do you have them at the front of your mind? I hope so, because now we will continue with a short sentence and I will give you a few examples. We'll go over it together and I will add my examples onto the end. Once we have done this 3 times, I will go quiet and allow you to carry on using the opening sentence and finishing it with whatever you have chosen. If at any point you feel like you get a blank mind or you can't think of something else or the next thing that you perhaps thought of just now in that moment where I gave you time to come up with a list of things, please don't let it throw you off. You can repeat the same thing. There is nothing wrong with repeating the same thing while you give your brain a chance to come up with the next thing. And if it happens again, repeat it again. It's absolutely fine. So, are we ready? Get comfortable. Take one big deep breath in for me. And out. And let's begin. So say it with me. I am open and ready to receive. Now I'm going to add what I am open and ready to receive. So, I am open and ready to receive confidence. I am open and ready to receive peace and joy within. I am open and ready to receive creative ideas and solutions to all that I desire. Okay, so let's begin. We're going to do this together 3 times and then I will go quiet, but I will check in every now and again to make sure that you are still present. Let's begin. I am open and ready to receive. I am open and ready to receive. I am open and ready to receive. You carry on. I'm just checking in, making sure that you're still present and open and ready to receive. So let's go again. I am open and ready to receive. I am open and ready to receive. I am open and ready to receive. You carry on. We have almost come to the end, so let's finish strong together. I am open and ready to receive. I am open and ready to receive. I am open and ready to receive. Well done, angel students. Feel free to come back to this meditation at any time for further focus on tuning into your desires and knowing that you are truly worthy of all great things. Goodbye, angel students.
Hi everyone, here's the video for Angel School. Let's do a quick exercise for the joint first. Wrist and ankles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, chins. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, knees. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, chins. 1, 2, 3, chins. 1, 2, 3. Relax your hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, change. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Keep your elbow arm and reach as far as you can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Change. One hand higher, one hand lower. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Body elbow look back. 1. Breathe out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Arms straight. Relax your shoulders. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Change. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Shoulders down, head up. Neck. 1. If you feel the neck muscle stretching, that's good. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Bring shoulders full circle. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Change. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Relax your back. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10. Okay. Let's practice a little bit strength training and basic punching kung fu stance. First one, push-ups. You can do on your face or palm. Up to you. Keep your arms straight. Body straight. 1. All the way down. All the way up. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. normally we do a little bit push up, just prepare for the basic punch. So punching technique we do in the form all the time. So when you start, keep your foot point straight, clench your fist. L1 punch. Slowly. 1. When you clench your fist, breathing in. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. A little bit of power. Breathing on. 1. Elbow and punch. Same time like bow and arrows. 2. 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. When you do it, you can use a little bit more power. We just practice the movement. So now let's do a little bit of squats. So squats is good for your leg, but normally you can do a little bit of squat jump as well, good for explosion power. So just do it 10 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the first kung fu stance. Keep your elbow on your knee, breathing in and breathing out. 1, change 10 times. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, So this Kung Fu form have two main stances, the marble and the Kung Fu, yeah? This is the first one. And the second one leg bent, one leg straight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, change. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. As walking through the routine together from the beginning. I'm gonna start from here. Breathing in, hands up. Breathing out. Clench your fist. 1, like elbow strike. 2, first Kung Fu stance, marble, block, and punch. 2, hands up. 3, kick. Elbow, punch. Then feet together. Right hand block. Stand up. Kick your right leg. Right leg forward. Punch your left hand. Then stand, uppercut. Then marble. Left leg forward. Both hand punch. And turn your body to the right. Left hand punch. Turn left. Stand. Right hand block. Right knee up. Left hand. And stop. Inhale. And exhale. And do it one more time. Yeah. Inhale, hands up. And exhale. Hands front your body. Clench your fist. Elbow strike. First Kung Fu stance. Marble. Right hand block. Left hand punch. 1, 2, block, punch, step back, feet together, right hand block. 1, facing your waist. 2, block again, punch your left hand. From here, left leg stand, and right hand uppercut. Then marble, first Kung Fu stance, both leg bend, punch. Then turn your body to the right, right hand block, punch your left hand. 1, 2, turn left. This time, right leg stand. Then right knee up, left knee up. Same marble. So keep your both leg bent. Left face above your left knee, right face above your head. When you do by yourself, if you can put bottle water on your leg, not falling down, that's good. Then stop. Clench your fist. Same. Elbow back. And breathing in. And breathing out. Let's try one more time. last time. This time, slightly a little bit power. Keep your body upright. Inhale. And exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then right knee, left knee. Okay, let's do 3 breathing exercises. 2 foot ones. Foot down, head up, arm straight, fingers straight. Take your hands to your full stretch. Breathing in through your nose. Collecting all the energy into your body to repair your body. Breathing out. Make sure you drop your shoulders, the elbow. Feel the stretch around the shoulders and neck. Hands pushing down to maximum. Imagine you're going to touch the floor. When you do by yourself, you can do 10 times. I'll just do 2 more times. Last one. Breathing in, collecting all the good energy into your body. And breathing out. Relax your shoulders, elbow, hands push all the way down. Okay.
Please like and subscribe so you could get more and more lessons.